Hey everybody, welcome back to my layout. This will be a layout update for May 2018. Should be pretty short and sweet. I haven't got a whole lot done on the layout. No new rolling stock or locomotives to show you guys, so we'll just jump right in and take a quick look at what I've been working on down here. So you probably noticed we got a little bit of scenery done down here, which is kind of odd. If you watched the last layout update, you saw it feels like years and years away from scenery, but I actually had to do a little piece here so I could finish the drywall. So it ended up being about a 6-foot section here that I had to finish so I could put this final piece of drywall in up here. So that's the last piece I had to do, and I kind of got myself into the chicken versus the egg scenario, which I have a real knack of doing that. So I went ahead and did all this scenicking down here, got all the terrain done, and I figured it would be easier to put the curved sheet of drywall in after. Wow, this was really hard to get in, so I don't know what would have been easier, actually just finishing the drywall and then doing this and kind of struggling to get access back here, or doing what I did. I don't know, it's done now, so it doesn't matter, but I still have a ways to go. I got to do all the mudding on this, so I got to do a whole feathering of mud and make this curve nice and smooth, and then you see there's a lot of work to do up here. Tape this and mud and tape and sand and get all that ready to go. But at least it's done. I got the board in there. It was a bit of a struggle. Alright, it's a bit better angle. You can see the scenery that was done, and about 4 pieces of flex track to the re-railers in the reverse loop there. Part of the reason I wanted to do this too is to give us a little bit more track to run on. So now we've got an additional 12 feet to run on, which is kind of nice. So the train, when you're going around the loop, it's more than just like a 3-foot run now. So we've been having some fun with that, and you can see if we look carefully into the crack there, you can see what the train's going to look like coming in and out of staging. This is how it would look coming out. This would be eastbound coming down the hill from Divide. So just looking from the opposite direction, we dug out a grain train just for this occasion for testing. Both my son and I really like grain cars, so got one out, figured that would be the first train we tested on this fully scenic piece of 12 foot of track there. And so this is an actual full-length train that we're going to run, so this is just over 25 feet. I think it's about 34 cars. So what we saw at the beginning there, where the train just starts poking itself out of staging, this is how much is hanging back in the reverse loop. So it's kind of cool seeing how some of this stuff is going to operate. We've really been having a lot of fun with it. So the only other major thing I got done over the last month, guys, was the rough terrain is probably 90% complete. So I went around the whole layout kind of doing in the rough pieces, just cutting it out and then just setting it down on the benchwork. Most of it's not secured. Some of it is over by where the locomotives were at the start there, but so you can see Banff here on the station I filled in with 2-inch and 3-inch styrofoam insulation. So just west past Banff, this is the 40 Mile Creek scene. I actually did got the creek bed in there and got the road bed prepared for doing the scenery and getting the train there. And yeah, it's just about done. I got to do the other side here, but that's got the big Bow River on it, so I'm kind of saving that one till last. So moving on from 40 Mile Creek right here, we've got, I did the outer terrains all done, the outside, so that will be the rough terrain that will go to the fascia. Of course, it won't be just totally flat. I haven't glued it or secured it in. It's just kind of mocked up there. And then in the inside of the peninsula, you can see I've got the Bow River at Morant's Curve mocked up using just a scrap cardboard. Haven't got around to making that yet, but basically what I'm going to do is tape all that cardboard together, move it onto plywood, and cut out a plywood of that exact shape to be the riverbed of the Bow River. Pictures on the wall kind of help show what the scene's going to look like a little bit. And I used a combination of just going by these photos to kind of get a feel for what the river's going to look like in here, because obviously this is compressed quite a bit I think it's like 70 or 80% compressed. So it's pretty extreme, even though it's a huge, I mean, this peninsula this is a 38-inch radius around the outside, but still, it's just, we're modeling massive, massive things, and you got to do what you got to do. So I've also been using Google Earth to measure, you know, like certain distances. Here I measured from the rail to the edge of the riverbed, you know, in different spots, and used that to help kind of guide me when I'm doing this rough, kind of the rough in for this riverbed. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to come around. There'll be a nice hill in the back here with all the trees on it, and then it's going to disappear kind of where the scene divider is. I've got these little scraps of paper all over the place, but this is basically how I figure out these scenes. I guess I lied to you. The river is scaled down to 75% of its normal size is kind of what I went with. And then using Google Earth and just doing the math, taking different measurements from the satellite pictures, and kind of making it fit in the space that I have. So just about, well, every river scene and every kind of road crossing, I do one of these little scrap pieces of paper, trying to get the dimensions right and kind of get it looking as close as a prototype as I can. So just west of Morant's Curve is another scene that has the Bow River in it, and this one's completely done. I've got the terrain all rough cut and everything. This one's ready to be secured to the benchwork, and then the final grade put on it next time I go around. And then that pretty much catches us up to last month. I think I was over here. So now that most of the scenery's rough cut, I'm waiting. I got to do that little bit of drywall over there. But this stuff's ready to get glued down, and I'm using the same stuff. This is the stuff that I'm using here. Dow, great stuff. Gaps and Cracks, it's called. I also want to give a shout out to my friend Dan for hooking me up with some of this 3-inch foam. He really bailed me out. I thought I had a lot of 2-inch pink foam that I had kind of been dumpster diving over the last year and saved up a whole bunch of it. But I burned through all of my 2-inch pink foam, and I was lucky enough that Dan saved me some, and you can see I ran out of pink stuff over here, so I was able to keep going. So thanks a lot, Dan. That's what it looks like when you're using the Great Stuff Foam Pro. Kind of go around, and I use just scraps to move the 2-inch up to where I need it to be. So once I've got the terrain firmly glued down and like this stuff is solid, secured to the benchwork, then I go ahead and do the final carving, and that's a pretty slow process because there's also a lot of decision making involved. Like we'll slide over to a spot here. So this is the crossover at Divide scene, and you can see I've kind of started a little bit here doing some of the grading, the ditches and stuff. But like I was talking about, there's a lot of decision making to be involved, and with me, whenever there's decision making, it seems like it takes 10 times as long. But there's a set 4 signals here, so you need to leave a flat spot for those, as well as there's propane switch heaters on both sides. You've got the switch actuator, little box. There's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be planned for, and of course I'm using photos to go off of, and you can see here this is kind of exactly what I'm looking for. I really try to use photos as I'm carving, so you can see, trying to capture that ditch. There's a ditch all the way along. Usually they do that with a spreader or something, and then you can see we got a road, so there's going to be a little flat section there. There's the switch heater down at this end. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be kind of thought of ahead of time before you go and do the final scenery. So trying to get that right. Slow process, but breaking it down in little chunks and just doing a little bit here and there. Eventually we'll get there. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap up this layout update. We've really got into the nice weather here in Western Canada, so it seems like the summers are about 4 hours long here, so you really got to make the most of it. I've really been struggling to get down here in the last 2 weeks. It's been plus 25 just about every day. I'm trying to get outside with the little guy and make the most of it. So at this time of year, it seems it's just hard to spend time down here, but I'm sure there'll be some rainy days, and I'll be able to get going on that drywall and keep going with the terrain down here. Alright, that'll wrap up this layout update, guys. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.